All right, next up, we got Return to Macklin, Drew Melson. Now, Return to Macklin, looked like he was a playoff team. You look at the roster, like a lot of good players, putting up some points, but never made that run we were waiting for, and has just kind of been confusing to watch this year. Much like those San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers, some weeks look amazing, and you think of that roster and you're like, they're gonna make it far in those playoffs. But then other weeks, the 49ers put up like 3 points and look like idiots. And like they just lost to the Raiders. My goodness. Much like Return to Macklin, he lost to some of those bottom of the barrel awful teams in the league in very key spots this year. Return to Macklin squandered a few opportunities, much like those 49ers, and could have made that push. But the 49ers, they're going to have to examine the head coach, the quarterback position. Much like Return to Macklin, he might do a little off-season reboot and try to figure out what happened. So I think Colin Kaepernick and Anquan Boldin is on Return to Macklin. Very fitting, very fitting. So 49ers for Return to Macklin. Alright, next up, we got Braveheart Chicken Wang. And Braveheart Chicken Wang, Stephen Griffith, started off the year great. Was like 3 or 4-0, first in the division. You're like, oh my goodness, he's got a team, he's got a chance. But then came back down to earth, and we kind of realized, did he ever have a chance? Those Cleveland Browns. The Browns, they start off great this year. They're like, oh, Brian Hoyer, he might be a real quarterback. Turns out he's not. Turns out they're going to start a rookie in like week 15, and they've just turned into a bit of a circus. So the Cleveland Browns are the clear Braveheart Chicken Wang. Because, not a bad year. But it's not going to be this year that you make it. You got to do a little more rebuilding. Braveheart Chicken Wang. So the Cleveland Browns. And also, can we just note this? Just a hideous helmet. It's just plain and boring. The Browns spice it up a little bit. Alright, next up we got We Are Garbage. Shane McNamee. And with We Are Garbage, this one was very fitting because the division he's in is just too good. Can't hang with them. And has some good performances, but all in all, mostly garbage. The New York Giants. So the Giants, you got, I believe, Odell Beckham and Eli Manning is on We Are Garbage. Eli Manning, I don't know why he's on any fantasy team, but Odell Beckham, he's good. And with the New York Football Giants, most weeks, Eli just, with his eyes closed, heaves up those prayer wobblers over the middle. Usually they're picked off. Usually it doesn't work out so well. But occasionally someone holds it in and the Giants actually get some wins and look okay. And they put up some points. But most of the time it doesn't work out. The New York Giants. Alright, next up. We got Earth So Good. Now with Earth So Good, I don't think people really notice this in the league. Earth So Good quietly went 5-2 in his last 7 games. Pretty crazy. Earth So Good, started off so bad that you just kind of forgot about him, and resurrected this team into something all right. But just not quite enough to make it. Just a little too far behind to start. The Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins have won 5 out of 8. Earth So Good won 5 out of the last 7. I was trying to do some research to find a team that had won 5 of the last 7 and looked at a few teams and got bored. It was taking too long. So I settled for 5 out of 8 for the Miami Dolphins. And the Dolphins, they're a very good squad, but no superstars. No one who, like, week in, week out, you're like, they're gonna have a great week. It's just, tough to beat them. They're studs. Same with Earth So Good. Top to bottom, a solid team, a good team. The Andy Daltons, the Lamar Millers, but no one great. No one great. But Earth So Good. Solid end of the year. Take that momentum into the draft room. keep it going for next year. Pretty solid end. Alright, so now is the bottom two teams. And these were kind of fun to think of who the team should be. And you got your choices, because there are a lot of awful teams in the NFL. Melson Molesters, a lot of teams that you could pick, but there's one in particular that just matches so well. Those Oakland Raiders. And Melson Molesters is the only person in the league, I think, crazy enough to actually start Raiders. Melson Molesters, I think, starts Derek Carr and James Jones. You know, so he actually starts Raiders, which that alone is enough reason to pick him, because who starts Raiders? I mean, we're trying to win here. Well, I guess besides Pat. Pat's trying to lose the past few weeks, but starting Raiders, that's just a death wish. And so with the Raiders and Melson Molesters, a couple similarities. Awful team. We'll start there. Bit of a traveling circus, you know. Sometimes starts a full roster, sometimes doesn't. Sometimes has players on a bye. Sometimes starts guys who have broken legs. Raiders kind of similar. They don't know what they're doing. And with the Raiders, another thing that's also very similar that I thought was just too fitting is the Raiders, if you've noticed them recently, they're an awful team. Just the worst. But they have these weird, like, bold celebrations, and they're like high-fiving each other in the middle of the field when they're about to beat the Chiefs, even though the game's still going on. And, like, after they beat the 49ers, one of their linebackers called out Colin Kaepernick. Like, you're the Raiders. Calm down. You're terrible. Just win quietly, and just don't bother the rest of the people in the league. Melson Molesters, similar in that before the season even started, his team's terrible. And you could see that from day one. But he called out, 3 people in the league by changing his team name to Melson Molesters. So a bold move from a very bad team, much like your Oakland Raiders, is just too fitting. Just too fitting. So Oakland Raiders, Melson Molesters. Alright. Brings up the rear. One, Pat Jordan. The Bears, Pat Jordan. And as much as I just thought about it, and I didn't want to do it, I had to, because it's just the most fitting. The Bears. The Bears is the Bears. It's so obvious. The Bears are in last place in their division. He's in last place. The Bears have high-powered, great wide receivers, and then just terrible, though, with their quarterback and their defense. Just the rest of the team is no good. But they're all about the wide receivers. Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey are great. Everyone else is kind of not doing so hot. The Bears is crazy. So, I had to. And, the Bears, they might as well just not start people and throw in the towel because they don't have a shot at the playoffs. And that's what the Bears did. Pat Jordan. So that basically sums it up for his season right there. Right there. The Bears is the Bears. Alright, so hope you enjoyed the power rankings. It was a great season, everybody. I enjoyed it very much. But for 4 of you, including me, the season is not over. So tune in to see how the playoffs shake out, and also vote in the poll, because I want to see who people got in the playoffs. Who you think will take home that championship. Alright. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Enjoy the playoffs.